All right, Shalom Israel. First and foremost, as always, I would like to give all praises, honor, glory, respect, and blessings to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Yahaha, Quadash. Salutations to the Lord's elect on the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth and sincerity while patiently waiting for Yahweh Shai's return, and double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone, which have taught us everything we know through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. And I just wanted to do a response video to a video right here that you see on the screen. This is the video that is pre-recorded. I recorded it while I was at work. Since my phone is not turned on, meaning that if your phone is not turned on, you don't have any data. So without data, you cannot access the internet on your phone. You cannot make phone calls or send text messages without Wi-Fi or without the internet connection. So by your phone being turned on, you pretty much get unlimited data, and that costs money. And look, nowadays, people don't have money like that, to keep their phone turned on and all that other shit. So pretty much, I'm able to access internet on my phone and make phone calls and send text messages through Wi-Fi. But anyways, while I was at work where I have internet, I was able to record this video from my phone. So I'm gonna play this video and I'm gonna continue from there.
So authorities across the country are on a high alert after two crime rocked the U.S., starting in Virginia. An ROTC student taking down a suspect who opened fire on a classroom, killing one person. The FBI, revealing sources, said that the suspect said Allahu Akbar before the shooting. Just hours later, a suspect rammed into a Michigan synagogue before exiting with a rifle. What agents are calling a targeted attack. Security shot and killed him. Joining us now is James Galliano, Fox News contributor and retired FBI supervisory special agent. James, good to see you, brother. I just want to show you this growing timeline, and we're hoping that we can nip this in the bud. But March 1st, you had that bar shooting in Austin, Texas. Saturday, attempted bombing in New York City. And then Thursday, the synagogue attack in West Bloomingfield, Michigan. And of course, Thursday, the Old Dominion University shooting in Norfolk, Virginia. This is spanning across the country, and looks like most of all of these motivations are radical Islam.
Yeah, and LJ, I'll tell you, I think since 9/11, there's been some 53 plots that were either foiled by the FBI or law enforcement or successful in the United States involving radical Islamists. Look, this is the suicidal empathy we talk about all the time.
Now, Salakia for pausing it right there, but you see, when Esau wants a country to be public enemy number one, this is one of the first steps he takes to waging war against another country, okay? It all starts with this propaganda, which he spreads through his medium. Now, when I say medium, I speak of the media, okay? When you go into the word media is just another word for medium. A medium, okay? And basically, a medium would be like a mediator to relay a message from one party to another. So, through Esau's medium, he is able to spread mass propaganda to the people to deceive the masses into believing that America's the good guys while these third world countries are the bad guys. And a lot of people in America is waking up to the sorceries and the witchcraft that the serpent is spreading through his medium. Now, when you go back to the Garden of Eden, okay, one of the things that the serpent was known for, which when you go into that word serpent, it goes back to the Hebrew word nakash. And when you go to the root word of that word nakash, it means a person who practices divination. And a person who practices divination will be a witch, a warlock, okay, a sorcerer. And that's pretty much what that serpent was in the Garden of Eden. Now, spiritually, we're in the Garden of Eden all over again, okay? Eve has been deceived yet again. That's why she have bought into the serpent's philosophy of feminism, women being equal to men, women being able to have the same privileges or authority as men. Okay, and the very same practices these very same practices, whether if it's rituals, ceremonies, sacred rites on the left-hand side, whether if it's human sacrifices and all manner of abominable practices among these other nations, whether if it's the eating of foods that are not meant to be eating, you know, whether if it's like different types of parties, all that stuff that we're seeing today was going on in the Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis, which is why in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 1 verse 9, Solomon said what? There is nothing new under the sun. We're seeing them same practices, okay? The bloodshed, okay? The bloodshed, the murders, okay? All those wicked practices that was going on in the Garden of Eden, we're seeing it all over again, except this time through the Urim and Thummim, which your modern day Urim and Thummim would be your TV, your laptop, anything with a screen on it that can show you what's happening around the world. Your phone, okay? That's a Urim and Thummim, if I'm saying that correctly. You know, excuse me. So just like how the serpent in the Garden of Eden was spreading lies and you know, bullshit to deceive the masters in the Garden of Eden, guess what? We're seeing them do it all over again. Except this time he's doing it through his medium, which is his mainstream media. Okay? While they're painting Iran to be the bad guys, okay? All these mass shootings, because these mass shootings, whether if they're staged or not, okay, you know, like a person who goes up in a school or a person who goes up in a synagogue and shoots it up, there could be many other reasons behind why he really went up in there. Maybe he was a victim of MK Ultra. Maybe he was a human experiment. Maybe they gave him murder pills. Maybe they experimented on his mind to see what they could make him do and cannot do. These are all things that we have to consider. So it don't always have to be some kind of, you know, some kind of tea attack because Iran is just mad at America. And no, it don't always have to be about that, man. The reason can always be for many other reasons. Okay? It can always be for many other reasons. You know? Just like these school shootings, you know? Esau will call it a terrorist attack on mainstream media, but the reason behind the school shootings is not even a terrorist attack. Maybe the person who was going to that school was bullied at their school his whole life, and the teachers did nothing about it, the principal did nothing about it, management did nothing about it. Okay, and obviously his parents didn't care, right? His parents told him to you know, go to school, man up, deal with it, and such and such. So then there came a time and point in his life where he reached a breaking point, and he decides to go in his dad's closet and grab a assault rifle. He might grab a hunting rifle, and then he goes to school and basically he starts shooting at basically all the students that laughed at him, mocked him, spat on him, kicked him while he was down. Okay? He probably had very few or no friends, or the friends that he once had pretty much gave up on him or left him because they weren't real friends. So pretty much his life just ended up broken to the point to where when he got to that breaking point, he grabbed his dad's rifle, he went up in that school, and basically he took out as many students as he possibly could. But then the so-called white man, the biblical Edomites of the Holy Scriptures, the serpent in the Garden of Eden, okay, okay, which he had brown skin and woolly hair back then, until the Heavenly Father took his brown skin and woolly hair when his ancestor Cain murdered our forefather Abel. That's where the Heavenly Father had begun to take the pigmentation of these damn Edomites, because when Cain came back in the reincarnation in the book of Genesis, he came back as Esau, and he was born with full leprosy and stringy hair. So okay, so this same serpent in the Garden of Eden, right? He'll take the situation that happened at the school shooting, right? He'll take it, flip it, and then he'll do a whole 360 on the whole narrative. He'll say this guy's name was such and such, and basically he was a Islamist, you know, dedicated to Iran. You know, he was dedicated to the Iranian cause, and he heard about what happened to his people at Iran and decided to take matters into his own hands. So he went and bought a assault rifle from such and such, right? And then he decided to go up in a school or a synagogue and shoot it up to exact revenge. You see how the so-called white man works? And this is why many people are not buying into the mainstream media, because they're seeing that it's bullshit. Okay? It's utter bullshit. Okay? There's a lot of lies being fed through the medium, and people are seeing it now. Okay? You're not going to keep painting these other nations as the bad guys and expecting people to just eat up your poison. Because now everybody is looking at this guy on TV that you claim to be a terrorist because he was upset about what America did to his people over in Iran, and people is looking at the so-called white man like, wait a minute, this guy has no ties to Iran. Well, what is you talking about? This guy was just a regular student going to school that was bullied his whole life, and he got fed up with the school bullying. So when he got to his breaking point, he went and got an AR out of his dad's closet. He never went to a gun shop to buy an AR. He went into his dad's closet, he grabbed an assault rifle, and he shot up the school or the synagogue. Okay? You see? So that's the truth behind the story. But the so-called white man will take that situation and he'll do a 360. He'll flip it. He'll do a 360 flip on it, and basically he'll turn around and say that this guy conducted a terrorist attack on the school and such because he was mad about Iran. You see? So people is waking up to the serpent and the witchcraft that he is feeding to people through his medium. Let's go.
Time where there just isn't a proper process to vet these people. As you pointed out, in those 4 attacks, either naturalized citizens or the children of naturalized citizens. I think this is absolutely an assimilation problem, and that's something that we've got to focus on in our country right now.
You know, James, you were one of the big guns here in New York with the FBI, and you know how hard it is to build a counterterrorism case. Were you shocked to learn that one of the perpetrators of this act was convicted of providing material support and was released early?
Yeah, should have gone to jail for 20 years, Lawrence, and I believe did somewhere in the neighborhood of 132 months. And again, it goes back to that suicidal empathy. The judge here decided that somebody that was tried and convicted of providing material support to ISIS deserved a second chance. And this was his second chance. And Lawrence, with all the attention since October 23rd
And here it is, right? You heard right out of the serpent's mouth how he tried to provide material support to ISIS and was given a second chance. Right? Like, why would you give somebody like this a second chance? First off, here it is, right? A grown-ass nigga, he'll be sitting in prison for 35 to 40 years for basically raping a woman that don't even have a man, right? She don't have a man, she's single, he rapes her. And basically now he's sitting in prison for 35 to 40 years. Where's his second chance at? You got niggas sitting in prison for basically You got niggas sitting in prison for 15 years for basically stealing a PlayStation from GameStop. You know, you got niggas sitting in prison for 15 years for stealing a PlayStation from GameStop. Well, where's his second chance at? Huh? Where's his second chance at? Like, you see the pure hypocrisy of this country? Meanwhile, you got a former agent who supposedly provided support to ISIS members, which is a serious crime, right? Considering what ISIS is. And you know, he's basically giving us a second chance. Meanwhile, this man that's providing support to ISIS has the potential to basically cause a mass catastrophic event where large numbers of people can die. But he gets a second chance though, right? Let's go.
Israel and the war in Iran right now, we are going to see more ISIS-related and inspired attacks. And why is that? Well, propaganda and attention is the queen of the realm in the terror business. And ISIS doesn't want Hamas and Hezbollah getting all the attention. So I think now more than ever, we need to pay attention to these potential lone wolf attacks.
Well, James, also, there seems to be this growing movement, and I talked about it even in my home state of Texas, of isolation with these communities that are not assimilating. And because of this new culture of wokeness and everything, it's like, let them be. But doesn't that breed?
Okay, so, 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 11, as it is written, let Satan, which Satan in that verse is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan, okay? It's talking about Esau, Edom, the self-proclaimed white man, okay? Lest Satan should get an advantage of us. For we are not ignorant of his devices. We're not ignorant to the devices of the so-called white man, okay? Because when you go to that word Satan, it goes back to the Hebrew word shaitan, which means adversary. And when you go into the word adversary, it means to be adverse. And to be, and what nation of people on this planet is completely adverse to the Heavenly Father? The so-called white man. Okay? The so-called white man is. He's the one that's completely adverse to the Heavenly Father. Okay? All his ways is completely adverse to the Heavenly Father. Okay? The Heavenly Father said that if a man commits murder, he's supposed to die by the hands of the victim. He's supposed to die by the hands of the family member of the victim that was murdered. But Esau puts him in prison so he can make money off of that person. The Heavenly Father said that a Mo is supposed to be put to death. What do the so-called white men do? The so-called white man gives him rights. The Heavenly Father said that you're not supposed to eat pork. The so-called white man chops them up inside of a chop shop and make them a delicacy. So, hey, everybody's waking up to the bullshit of the so-called white man. With that, I'm going to say shalom. It's on to the next one.